Hello everyone, welcome to the talk today. Hello and welcome today everyone to this talk about actuarial science. I'm joined by Nick Foster. I'll be handing you over to him in just 1 minute. My name is Christina Burns and I work in the international team. I'll be monitoring your questions today. So throughout the talk, if you have a question, please write it to us in the chat function of this event. I'll be gathering your questions throughout the talk, and Nick will answer them at the end. Okay, over to you, Nick.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Welcome everybody to the session on mathematics and actuarial science at Leicester. I'm going to be talking to you about various aspects of the course, but I'm going to start off by just answering the obvious questions. Why should you choose Leicester? Well, there are lots of reasons, as it turns out. The one I'd pick out, first of all, I think is that one about 21st in the world for sustainability. That's a great achievement globally for the university. It's based on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, of which there are 17. And one of those, Life on Earth, Leicester have come out first for that one. So it's a great place if you're interested in being in the right place for working on the solutions we're all going to need for a more sustainable way forward. The other one I want to pick up on is the employability, 94% employability there, and I'll be coming back to that specifically, a very, very high level of employability from our graduates. We have a very active students' union here, and that leads you into all sorts of societies and clubs that you can get involved in while you're with us. And finally, we're a very affordable city, as you can see, compared to most others here. So my name's Nick Foster. I'm the Programme Director for the BSc in Mathematics and Actuarial Science here at Leicester. I'm also the with industry tutor, so that's all about going off and getting work experience with companies while you're with us. So I would be the person you'd be talking to about those sorts of opportunities. I came to academia fairly late. I've only been doing this for 6 years or so. I was working as an actuary for many years before that. We have 4 qualified actuaries on the staff here at Leicester with wide industry experience. So that's something I'm going to be talking about in the next few slides. We're also very well connected with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries, which is the main professional body for actuaries, certainly in the UK and much of the world. So the school that we're in, the School of Mathematics and Actuarial Science, we have about 100 undergraduates on the Mathematics and Actuarial Science BSc, and overall about 450 across all the programs. Most of those are in the BSc Mathematics program, which is the other main undergraduate program here. We also have 80 MSc students. About 30 to 40% of those are on the MSc Actuarial Science with Data Analytics, which is our actuarial MSc program. As I said, we have a big group here of actuaries with industrial experience, but we also have lots of world-renowned researchers here, so you get the best of both worlds within the school. And on my degree in particular, it's basically a 3-year course, but 4 if you get to go out into a company on the year in industry between years 2 and 3. We are, and some of you may already know about this, one of the accredited, there are 18 accredited universities in the UK, probably about 30 globally, that allow you to get exemptions from the actuarial exams. I'll be talking a bit more about that qualification in a few minutes. So if you manage to get all the core principles exams from the degree with us, you're well on your way to qualifying as an actuary. But the other thing that we'd like to focus on just as much is the skill set that we send you out with, what we call the actuarial skill set. And that's that you're comfortable with data and you've got great team working skills, and we'll be working on those with you in lots of group exercises as well as your individual work. But you can communicate persuasively in speech and writing. And so, for instance, I'm assessing presentations, individual presentations next week. We give you plenty of opportunity to practice that skill. And so overall, you will know why you are useful to an organisation. That really helps with your employability knowing why you're applying to a company and what you can offer to them. So a little more about the actuarial profession before I move on. If you haven't heard of it, I'll be giving you a link to the IFOA website in a moment. But the two things I'll pick out from this slide really are that it's a very young profession. So you've got, I think 43% of the membership are under 30. And of the 31,000 odd members, about half of those are students studying towards the qualification, the fellowship qualification in most cases. And the other thing I'd like to point out is it's a very international profession. So 65% of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries students are outside the UK. So you're part of a big international community there. So where does that fit with mathematics? You probably know a lot about mathematics from your A-level studies, but rather less so about actuarial science. I think the key thing is that actuarial science is a problem-solving discipline. So you probably think about the kind of maths you like doing, but that's a difficult question for you at the moment, because although you might feel you've done a lot of maths, actually there's an awful lot of maths out there and a lot of things you haven't seen yet. And there may be things that you haven't seen yet that actually would be the things that you'd be really enthusiastic about. And the things that you have worked on might not be very representative of those areas of mathematics when you start to do it more professionally. So perhaps at your level, it might be a better question to ask, what kind of problems do you want to tackle? What do you want to do with your mathematics? And as I said, one possible answer, and there's the link there to the Actuaries website, which I'd urge you to have a look at if you're interested in this area. That's one possible area, is actuarial work, which is very much a problem-solving discipline, helping people to make decisions in uncertain times. And obviously we're in very uncertain times at the moment. And the way we support you in that is through lectures, workshops, webinars. Most of those are online at the moment, as you'd imagine, but in due course we'll be resuming much more on-campus activity as we go. We try and get you into small groups so you can feed back on things, as well as some of the larger lectures. But across the actuarial science programme, we're very much in small classes most of the way through. We also offer lots of drop-in opportunities for you to talk with your tutors about issues you're having, and we really, and I'll talk more about employability in a moment, really support that all the way through the programme. And in terms of supporting you beyond your studies, we have a pastoral system which is based around the personal tutors. As an actuarial student, you'd probably have either me or Lena Soda, who's the head of actuarial science, as your personal tutor. And we also have a network of students, second and third year students, who have volunteered to support you as well and give you the benefit of their experience of doing what you're doing very recently and help you with your studies and beyond that. There's also plenty of opportunities to have your voice heard through the feedback mechanisms of the modules, but also through the Student Staff Council and various student union activities as well. So lots of support to you all the way through the programme. I said I'd talk more about employability. This is really a key part of the courses from my point of view. We have an award-winning careers service here at Leicester, and we're very closely connected with them in the school. And we also offer employability sessions weekly with our qualified actuaries on the staff. And we can help you tweak your applications. I also run a professional skills and employability module in year 2, which is very much focused on how to present yourself to employers, how to research them, how to research yourself. And we have a very active actuarial society, which brings in people from across the finance sector and the actuarial sector all the way through the year. It also has people coming for their own CPD. It has professional members because it's also a regional society of the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries. So great networking opportunities offered from that. Now, I mentioned the With Industry programme that allows you to go out at the end of year 2 for a year with a company, but we also help you secure summer internships if that's your preference as well. They often have very similar application processes. And we've been involved with a lot of companies. This is just a selection of you. I could put up 3 or 4 slides companies just like this. These are companies that our graduates have gone to recently, or else they've offered placements to our students, and it's developing all of the time. So that's a little bit about the course. I wanted to give you a chance to have a go about predicting the future, because that's often what actuaries are not involved in, if not exactly predicting the future, helping people make decisions about an uncertain future. So if you can, you've got the QR code there. You can just scan that with your phones. Give you a couple of minutes to do that. You should get a screen up with some coloured boxes on it. Just give you a few seconds to get that going. I'll get you a chance to vote on a few things. Excellent. Okay, let's have a go at this then. So I thought this is a good one. This isn't predicting the future. This is predicting the present, really. You've all heard the various arguments about the coronavirus test that's around at the moment. It tends to detect about 80%, 70 to 80% of positive cases, and it has a false positive rate, i.e. saying that you're positive even when you're not, of about 0.8%. That's about 8 people in 1,000. And then the more contested figure is how many of the people who are being tested for the virus actually have coronavirus. And at the moment, most people can only get a test if they've got some sort of symptoms. And the general figure, all those arguments about this, general consensus seems to be it's around 5% at the moment. So assuming all of those things, what if you do get a positive test, and I don't know if any of you have recently had a test, how likely are you to have coronavirus? Have we go voting at that? Is that a lot? Okay. Well, I love it when it's evenly spread. So we've got 2 going for B, 1 each for A and C. Okay, so the 2 people who voted B are correct. It's 83%. I'm going to explain why on the next slide. So imagine that there were 50 people out of the 1,000 here. These are those grey boxes. They're all the 1,000 people that have gone for testing. So 50 of them actually have coronavirus. Those are those little X's on the screen there. And we got 40 of them because we're saying it's 80% accurate test. So we got 40 of them. The red boxes are the positive outcomes from the test. We also got another 10 negative tests, false negatives. And then we got 10 that we missed altogether that were positive, but we didn't catch them. So false negatives, if you like. But sorry, that should be 8 out of 50 that we missed. Those are the red boxes that haven't got a cross in it. So the false positives are 8 out of the 950 who are negative and they were given a positive test. So there are 8 red boxes there that shouldn't have been positive. So out of all the positive tests, we've got 40 that were true positives, and we've got 8 that were false positives. So we've got 48 positive tests, and only 40 of them were correct. So that 40 out of 48 gives you that 83%. Now, if we change that assumption about the 5%, it's quite sensitive to that. So, for instance, there was something going out, I don't know if you saw it, I think on Good Morning Britain, about only 0.1% of people having the test, which actually, if you randomly selected, that might be closer to the truth. Of course, they're not randomly selected, the people are going for testing. And in that case, of course, one in 9 of the only 1 in 9 of the positive tests would have been true, and you'd only have 11% of people actually having coronavirus because the false negatives would swamp it. But that's not actually the population you're testing. So that's rubbish if you've heard that before. On the other side, some people say actually it's much higher proportion. The British Medical Journal were talking about 80% having the virus, for instance, presenting for these tests, which might be true of some individual population that isn't true for the population overall. And then you get a much higher rate, about 99% of chance that if you got a positive test, it would be correct. But then you've got a massive problem of false negatives, and actually lots of the negative tests you're getting are people who have actually still got coronavirus. So the thing I'd like to bring out of this is that the false negative problem isn't a problem, and so that's not a reason for not getting a test. So it's a pretty good indicator of whether people have got coronavirus or not. Okay, so let's get on to the thing I wanted to talk about really, is predicting the future. And again, I picked out a few predictions here, and I want to see what you think about when these things might happen. So they're all things that seem to be increasing, but it's about how quickly they're increasing. And this is the kinds of problems that actuaries might well be asked to make assumptions about in financial models for pension schemes, insurance companies, banks, that affect how you might go about producing products or reserving for things. So let's have a go at a few of these ones. So when do you think the state pension age in the UK will have increased to 70? Oh, a few more votes for this one. Good. Okay. Is that a lot? 6. Okay. So going around BC, okay, 2030s, 2040s seems to be the majority opinion. Okay. So what can I say about that? Well, of course, there are no right answers to these, but I can tell you what we're currently on course for. So at the moment, the pension age is increasing to 68 by the mid-2030s and 69 by the late 2040s. So you might be being a bit pessimistic there, assuming it's going to be 70 by then. But then again, you may be right, because these things, if people suddenly start getting worried about how long people are living, again, at the moment they're not really worried about that for obvious reasons, then that might well be true. But that's the current situation there. Let's try the world population one. When's it going to reach 9 billion, do you think? You know what it is now? And on some of these, you might be thinking I'm giving you the wrong range of answers. Okay. Okay, so C, so 2040s, you reckon, is the most popular, with B and D 2030s, 2050s also coming up around there. So, okay. But let's see what I can give you as context for that. So currently, the population is about 7.7 billion. The UN predicts that it'll get to 8.6 billion by 2030 and 9.8 billion by 2050. So 2040 is a good sort of guess for our current estimate about when it might get to 9 billion there. So that was a good estimate there, I think. I was certainly on board with the consensus. And that's actually something that's reasonably easy to model and is likely to be reasonably accurate with world population. And the final one, I'll stop tormenting you with these quizzes after this one. Average sea levels. So we're looking at a climate change question here now. When do you think the average sea levels might rise by 0.5 metre above current levels? It's a frightening prospect, isn't it? Okay, so we're going between the 2060s and 2070s there. Okay, that's what, 40 years away? So the IPCC, those initials actually stand for two things, but this is the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change. So it's again linked to the UN, and that projects that it's likely between 0.42 and 0.8 by 2100. Now that was a couple of years ago, and every time they come back with a new estimate, it gets worse, unfortunately. So, but 2060 is quite a pessimistic view of when we're going to get to 0.5 metre sea level rise. But you're right to be absolutely seized by this and realise that it's something that we need to take action on. It's an urgent problem for the world. So good attempts at that, I think. But I think I'm not talking about your predictions particularly here, but generally, in the way we form these opinions, we're not good at predicting the future. And I think we've had all sorts of examples recently of that. 1989, that's quite an old one, probably for you as an audience. about the fall of the Berlin Wall, but 2008, perhaps you remember, there was a big financial crisis which people didn't really see coming beforehand. And in 2016, we've had Brexit and Trump. And then, of course, this year, 2020, we've had coronavirus. But we sometimes had successful things where we have predicted and headed off something that would have been a problem. So when we turned into the 21st century, everyone was worried about things that wouldn't recognize dates anymore in all sorts of software up and down the country. And that was headed off. People went in and they made changes to all of those things, and the problems were averted, to the extent that people then wondered why so much money had been spent on that exercise, because nothing happened, which is perhaps says something about why we don't do more about averting disaster rather than dealing with problems after they've happened. But that's another talk. So I'm just going to finish with a few slides about how to apply to Leicester, if you're interested by what you've seen so far. Apply through UCAS in the normal way, and there's a link there. All these slides are being recorded, by the way, so you'll have access to this after the talk. Those are the standard entry requirements for mathematics there, ABB. We'll be having some offer holder days through the year for you to come back and see us again. And we provide a range of preparation material before you come and join us, and introduce you to some of the people that you're going to be meeting in your first year along the way. So Citizens of Change is our byline at the moment at the university. So we're looking for students who represent that idea we have of ourselves here, the ability to treat people with respect and care for others, thrive with responsibility and leadership. And on the back of that, we've launched some new scholarships for 2021-22. It's to mark our 100 years as a university. So to apply for this, you need to get out of the way of the slide. To apply, you need to record a video, a 60-second video of yourself responding to the question, what do you want to change? If you'd like to apply for one of these scholarships. So just to finish off, why Leicester? Well, we like to think that we, despite some of the, we obviously want to have lots of students coming to Leicester, but we still manage to keep you in small groups and keep it as at an intimate level in terms of your relationship with the course, your relationship with the staff, and with each other and the other things that you get involved in here. Big network of pastoral support to support you. In terms of the actual course here, the actuarial science course, we've got a group of very experienced, qualified actuaries that are very well networked into the actuarial profession and the finance industry and places you might want to work, as well as linking that to the actual teaching on the course. So it's very much practitioner-led expertise that you have here. And as I mentioned, it is our 100th anniversary, so it's a great time to join the university. A little picture there, I think, from the 1920s. We had Sir David Attenborough here in 2018, dedicating the Centenary Square, because he grew up on the campus here. So we hope you'll come and join us and make the next 100 years as eventful as the last have been. Okay, thank you all for listening. We're ready to take questions now.
Okay. So we had a couple little questions. Basically, we are recording. So I've answered some questions privately and published a few. I didn't know, Nick, if you wanted to elaborate again a little bit about your background and your position in the university. I think one or two students maybe joined a couple of minutes after the presentation started.
Absolutely. So, as I said, my name's Nick Foster. I'm the Programme Director for the BSc Mathematics and Actuarial Science. So I'm a lecturer here, as well as being the Programme Director. I'm also a personal tutor, and I run the With Industry programme, which supports students to go out on placements and internships while they're with us across the whole School of Maths and Actuarial Science. And I also work very closely with the Actuarial Society, which is very active, and we get lots of speakers all the way through the year. So very involved in trying to support your employability as well as doing well on the actual degree here. And it might be a good chance to introduce Madhuri as well, who's assisting me on the presentation today. Madhuri Dodabka is a third-year student on the Actuarial Science course. Madhuri, did you want to quickly say a few words about yourself?
So my name is Madhuri, and I'm currently in my final year studying maths and actuarial science. And as Nick said, I'm also in the Actuarial Society as the secretary of the society. So yeah, we run events throughout the year, and it's quite enjoyable, actually. So yeah.
Great. And Nick, would you be able to elaborate a little bit about the role of the personal tutor and the support students might want to use the personal tutor scheme for, the type of questions they would be welcome to ask, and what is expected?
Absolutely. So the personal tutor really is your advocate through the system. So but for most of the time, you probably don't need too much support from your personal tutor. Someone to keep in touch and take an interest how things are developing, certainly. But it's mainly when perhaps there are issues that happen at home or in studies, perhaps illness, all sorts of things that may happen. And that's when you really need your personal tutor to help make sure that you protect your progress to the course as you're going through and advise you on the best way of doing that and support you in that. So very much an advocate for you through the program.
Great. So a double part question, if you don't mind. How much mathematics is part of the program? And how many actuarial exams are you exempt from when taking the course?
Okay, great pair of questions. So in year one, we have a fairly common core set of modules that all students, whether they're BSc Maths or BSc Maths and Actuarial Science, take. So they'll all take probability, they'll all take introductory statistics, they'll all do linear algebra and calculus and analysis. So those are core to everybody because we want to make sure everyone's got a sort of basic level of mathematics at undergraduate level to draw on throughout the program. Then there are optional modules for the BSc Maths students, but actually core for the actuarial students is we introduce them to economics at that stage. So you'll do microeconomics with Lena Soda in semester one, and then macroeconomics with me in semester two. And then that leads into year two, where you really start, and those are the first accredited modules, which are linked to actuarial subjects. And then in year two, you're doing pretty much all accredited subjects linked to specific actuarial exams. By year three, you then do an all-year project module, and then you get quite a lot of options that you can take alongside your core modules. Now, in terms of the accredited modules and the exemptions you can get, there are 7 core principles modules in the actuarial qualification. So core business 1 and 2, core mathematics 1 and 2, and core statistics 1 and 2. You can get all 6 of those from doing this degree. There's another one, core business 3, which is a business management module that no university can offer an exemption to because that's done as a separate online test by the Student Faculty of Actuaries, but all the other ones are available from this program.
Thank you.
Did you have anything to add to that, Madhuri?
Oh, no, there's nothing at my end to add to it. I think you've covered pretty much everything. So.
Quick question. I think someone might be looking at a campus map. What is the name of the main building for the teaching and learning in actuarial science?
Well, actually, we are spread out. You'll see quite a lot of parts of the campus. It's not a bigger campus, as you'll find. It's all centred mainly around the one big square, which has got the university library in it. But the admin team, who you will get to know very well, are based or will be based in the Ken Edwards building once we're back on campus for most activities. which is in one corner of that large square. We were until recently based in College House, which is a little house which is where the Attenborough family grew up, but we're moving to bigger premises during this pandemic. We're using that to rearrange ourselves.
Next question. What coding languages, if any, would you recommend for students to start looking into who are hoping to pursue a career in actuarial sciences?
Well, I'm actually going to pass this question to Madhurya because he's in the coding club at the university and very hot on this. So, Madhurya, do you want to take that one?
Yeah. So currently I'm running a coding club with one of the lecturers here, Alberto. So as far as I know, I think R and Python should be great if you can have a look at some of the resources before you come here. That will help definitely.
And it's definitely it's R and Excel in particular that we do teaching with. We teach MATLAB as well through computing classes that we offer, but we can support lots of other languages as well. And Madhurya mentioned Python being a particularly popular one.
Okay. A question about careers. There's a very straightforward goal, perhaps for many of the students taking this course, but should they change their mind throughout the course? Are there any other careers that they can use transferable skills to join?
That's a great question. I think you've got more transferable more transferable skills as a mathematics graduate than most other courses anyway. And I think with the actuarial science course, because we've got that particular focus on being able to work with data and communicate well, work well in groups, that opens up a whole load of areas. So yes, the obvious ones like actuarial work or other things within the finance sector, but increasingly, certainly actuaries are working outside the finance sector more and more in the areas of climate change, social care, etc. But also, as a graduate from this university, there are lots of other business directions you could go in. Lots of people perhaps go in a accountancy direction. In some cases, they might go work for one of the big four, for instance. We get many students considering teaching. There are lots of other areas that you can move into. So we'll support you in that for the widest possible area of things to consider as you're going through the course. But you'll have a lot of choice and you'll be much in demand.
So for someone who's not familiar, what are the big four? And how soon can students become involved in summer internships? Could they do so after the first year?
Yes, some companies, they tend to focus more on year two, but certainly we've had students who've got a summer internship in year one. I think particularly in the banking area that's a possibility to do. And they also have these sort of spring week activities as well, which are shorter duration. In terms of the big four, those are the big four accountancy firms, so KPMG, PwC, EY, Deloitte. Those are the big four. They sort of dominate the audit profession, and also from that, the consultancy profession in many ways as well. So lots of careers there. We have a steady stream of students working for those companies. In fact, we've got one coming back on one of our alumni evenings, which we're holding in a couple of weeks, who will be coming to talk to us about his experiences since he left us.
Okay, I'm going to combine two of the questions.
Okay.
In your opinion, what makes a good actuary? And do you see the demand for actuaries rising?
I do see the demand for actuaries rising. We've had, in the past, fairly set roles. We've been involved in insurance and pensions, in particular, general and life insurance. And those have been, the vast majority of actuaries have worked in those areas. And that's starting to change now, because the skill set that actuaries offer is widely now being recognised as valuable in a wider range of activities. Our current president of the Institute Faculty of Actuaries, Tan Soo Che, is very keen on the quote from Frank Reddington, who says, "An actuary who's only an actuary is not an actuary," which suggests that you do need to look beyond your just core skill set to how you can support more generally, how you can find other things that can support normally your clients who are trying to make decisions in difficult circumstances, and drawing on a wide range of skills and expertise across a lot of different fields. So actuaries are not, some of them are specialists, but increasingly they're going to have to be more generalists and know quite a lot about a wide range of things rather than absolutely everything about a small range of things.
Okay. So, can students switch after they finish the degree from actuarial science as a career goal to something like an investment banker?
Absolutely. We've had many students that have done that. And it's not even really a switch. We'll support you, as I say, in a wide range of career objectives you may have. Even if you take the actuarial route, I think increasingly students might not want to go all the way to fellowship. They may go as far as the associate level qualification, which will be most of the way to by the time you finish our degree, and then perhaps move out to other areas. We do a specific session in that professional skills module that I mentioned, where I talk about people who, I call it, are you going to be an actuary all your life? And it talks about other things that you might do. And we have guests in to talk about careers where they've started out in an actuarial direction and gone off in other directions.
So we have someone who's very futuristic in their thinking.
Okay.
Do you think it is a probable outcome that AI will replace actuaries in the future?
Well, I think a lot of the things that actuaries currently do will absolutely be automated, and we will have to work alongside that. And so the things that actuaries will be needed to do will be different. But at the moment, we have much simpler systems than an AI system, which are still so complex that we need a lot of people involved in checking processes and validation processes to make sure they're doing the right thing. They're doing the thing we expect them to be doing. I can only see those sorts of problems multiplying in the era of AI. And so there will always be a demand for the human element in managing those systems and understanding what those systems are telling us. So yes, I don't think they're a threat to actuarial roles.
Next question, if you still have time.
Absolutely.
How does employability support and the career service links change with this degree, either at undergraduate or postgraduate level, or is it very similar?
Between undergraduate and postgraduate level, yes, we have a very similar level of support from, often you're still applying for the same kinds of roles as graduates, certainly in the actuarial space. And we have, as I said, we have an award-winning career service who basically can support you for applying for any kind of employer, for any kind of admissions process, so all the tests, all the interviews, all the assessment days. They can help you practice all of those things. They can give you resources to help support you on those, to research yourself, to research companies that are involved. And that carries on after you graduate here. You have lifetime access to the career service here. So it's really great career support at the University of Leicester.
Thank you. Maybe a final question in case any more come in while we're talking, but for an undergraduate applicant, what would you say to manage their expectations on the difficulty level when they join the BSc Mathematics and Actuarial Science course?
Well, I think we very much see the year one as a levelling up process. So some of you will have done maths and further maths at A level, some of you will have just done maths. And so you will have seen some of the early content, certainly if you've done further maths possibly before. But we want to make sure that, so we start off reasonably slowly, but then we start to build it up. And maths is very much a subject that you build on past knowledge, and it builds up. So the thing is to concentrate early on, and even perhaps if some of it seems a little easy to you to begin, don't lose your concentration, because you'll perhaps find the following week things have moved on quite quickly. So it is going to be challenging for you, but we're only going to be recruiting students who we know we can cope with that challenge, and we will support you to do that. and to develop your mathematical skills, and then develop those. You don't need to be a genius mathematician to be an actuary, but you do need to be comfortable with the mathematics, that then you can concentrate on all of the things that we want you to try and apply it to, and the actual problem-solving element.
Thank you. Final question before we close.
All right.
For students that join the course and are competing for these internships and work placements, will their grades at A level or their academic performance in the course be of greater benefit to them?
I think you've got to focus on your your academic progress on the course. Your A levels are whatever they are. There are some employers that still include that in their admissions process. Occasionally, we've had students who've decided to actually retake one of their maths A levels alongside, if that's proving to be a stumbling block, but that's fairly rare that that's needed. The main thing to focus on is doing well on the course. People are looking for to get a 2-1 or a first on your program. That should be your aim. And by aiming for that, you'll also get exemptions from all of the actuarial exams as well. So that will be your focus on the program.
Okay. For all of the questions that we haven't managed to answer today, or if you think of one in a second after we close this event, please join us on the chats as part of the main event. We do have a lot of chat sessions open today, so you can ask us the rest of your questions throughout the day. So we do hope you join us on the chat. So, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you found the information useful to all of our students. And Nick, thank you very much for your presentation and for everyone joining us today.
Oh, thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye now.